Nobody talks about it, but China's not just building roads and ports. They're building influence. And if you're not paying attention to what's happening in places like Algeria, you're already behind. This isn't about construction contracts, it's about a quiet shift in global power, and it's happening right under everyone's nose. Let's talk about the A1 highway first, the east-west highway across Algeria. This thing is massive, over 1,200 kilometers long, stretching from the border with Tunisia in the east all the way to the Moroccan border in the west. It's sometimes called the Highway of the Future, and for good reason. When it was first proposed, the dream was that it would stitch the country together, speed up trade, boost jobs, and turn Algeria into a regional powerhouse. Sounds good, right? But dreams are expensive. Algeria put down a budget of around $11 billion originally. By the time the dust settled, that ballooned up to $13 billion or even more, depending on who you ask. A big chunk of the work went to two groups, a Japanese-South Korean group and, here's the kicker, a Chinese consortium led by CITIC and China Railway Construction Corporation. This video will dive deeper into this mega project and another China-Algeria project called the Hamdania Central Port, which is poised to be the largest deep-water port in all of Africa. But before we continue, hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy this type of content and want more. Alright, let's get into it. At first, it looked like a typical government mega project. Ambitious, hyped, and honestly, pretty messy. There were delays, lots of them. There were corruption scandals. At one point, senior officials, including Algeria's Minister of Public Works, were accused of taking bribes from foreign companies. Some contracts got cancelled. The whole thing looked like a disaster. Except for the Chinese side. While everyone else got tangled up in scandals and bureaucracy, Chinese companies kept their heads down and just kept working. They weren't the fastest. The highway still opened years later than planned. But they were steady, reliable, and that, well, made an impression. The A1 wasn't just about concrete and asphalt, it was a new kind of diplomacy. What some people call infrastructure diplomacy. Algeria needed roads. China needed allies, markets, and influence. It was a perfect match. And this highway really matters. It connects Algeria's economic centers. It links ports to inland cities. It makes it way easier for goods to flow across North Africa. It's not just a road, it's an artery. And China helped build it. Now, if the A1 was China dipping its toe in the water, the Hamdania Central Port is China jumping in head first. Hamdania is not just another port. It's designed to be the largest deep-water port in all of Africa, capable of handling 6.5 million TEUs, that's 20-foot equivalent units, basically shipping containers, every year. For comparison, that's more than the Port of Durban in South Africa, which is currently Africa's busiest. The project is estimated at about $6 billion. And who's paying? Well, 85% of the financing comes from a Chinese loan. The rest comes from the Algerian government. And the companies building it? You guessed it. Chinese giants like China Harbor Engineering Company and China State Construction Engineering Corporation. But why a port this big? Why here? Because Algeria has a killer location, right smack in the middle of the Mediterranean, close to Europe, close to West Africa, close to the Suez Canal. If you control a major port here, you control a massive chunk of trade between Africa, Europe, and beyond. Honestly, it makes perfect sense when you look at a map and see the location of Algeria. El Hamdania isn't just going to serve Algeria, it's being positioned as a transshipment hub, meaning containers from other parts of the world will be dropped here, reorganized, and sent off to different destinations. Algeria's leaders hope it will pull business away from bigger European ports like Valencia or even Marseille. And of course, it's part of something much bigger, China's Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative isn't just about building stuff. It's about building a world where China sits at the center of the global economy. Roads, railways, ports, pipelines, all leading back to China. It's like the old Silk Road, but supercharged and stretched across the entire planet. And here's where things get really interesting, and a little scary for some. When China finances these huge projects, the host countries end up heavily indebted. According to some estimates, Algeria's debt to China is in the billions already. If Algeria struggles to pay back these loans, China could negotiate strategic stakes in the very assets they helped build, like the El Hamdania port. This isn't just conspiracy theory, it's happened before. Just look at Sri Lanka's Hamdania port, which ended up being leased to a Chinese company for 99 years after Sri Lanka couldn't pay back Chinese loans. But guess what? That was a lenient and cordial agreement between Sri Lanka and China. And let's face it, nobody else is offering to build world-class ports, airports, highways, and railways in these developing nations. Western powers see what's happening and they're worried. Really worried. They accuse China of using debt-trap diplomacy, offering easy money up front, and then using the financial burden to gain political and economic control. China, for its part, says this is nonsense. They argue they're simply offering investments in infrastructure that the West ignored for decades. And to be fair, many African leaders appreciate what China is doing. After all, when was the last time the US or Europe funded a $6 billion port in Africa without a mountain of strings attached? But even so, the facts remain. China's fingerprints are all over the biggest, most strategic infrastructure projects in Algeria. The A1 highway, the El Hamdania port, and that's just scratching the surface. China has also been investing in telecoms, manufacturing, energy. The list keeps growing. Did you know that over 1,300 Chinese companies operate in Algeria, with $13 billion in trade and $5 billion in investments approved since 2022? And it's only going up. By 2022, China had become Algeria's biggest trading partner, beating out even France, Algeria's former colonial ruler. That's not a small thing. That's a seismic shift. And it's not just about money, it's about values, systems, alliances. The more Algeria and other countries rely on China for infrastructure and investment, the more they lean toward China's way of doing things. State-driven development, fewer political strings, a different kind of globalization. For Algeria, it's a bet that China will be a better partner than the West ever was. A bet that this time they won't get burned. They value the stability, reliability, and no-nonsense deals that the Chinese can offer, and not the moral high-ground-loving Europeans or the flip-flopping, unreliable Americans. But like every big bet, it comes with big risks. Because in the global game of influence, nothing is ever truly free. Not roads, not ports, not even promises. The story of the A1 highway and the El Hamdania port isn't just a story about Algeria, it's the story of a new world being built. One road, one port, one loan at a time. And it's happening whether the rest of the world likes it or not. A shift to a multipolar world, a new world order in which China takes the front row. If you want to keep understanding how global power is shifting right before our eyes, make sure you subscribe. And check out the next video where we break down how China's investments in Africa's tech industry could change the internet as we know it. Thanks for watching.